If you have been watching the vlog, you may have seen my dad's story about the trucker that tried to run him off the road. And I wanted to start a series called SHANAFELT, which is basically some scary, real-life stories of freaky things that have happened. I have some people lined up that I want to interview, my Uncle Matt being one of them, my Uncle Mark being another. A lot of people in my family that freaky things have happened to. But here's a story that happened to me. Some of you have probably seen the movie The Ring. Well, when the movie The Ring came out, you know, I don't know how old I was a teenager at the time, and my friend from high school and I were like, oh, let's go see this scary movie, man. So we went and saw the movie, and it was kind of scary, whatever. So we saw the movie, and afterwards we're like, oh, let's do something else scary. So there was this, we kind of asked my dad, what should we do, man? Is there anything scary near here? And he's like, well, there's an old cemetery near here, you know. That's like, the graves are real old and everything. So we're like, okay. So we went over there, and it was probably about midnight or something. And my one friend that I went with from high school, he was real ADD. He still is, like both of us are. But he, you know, when he's focused on something, he's focused on it. He's, you know, he's not gonna be. It's hard to get his attention when he's focused on something. So anyways, we get to this place. It's like, you kind of got to walk back in the woods. And it's up on a peninsula of land. What I mean by that is there's this very small graveyard. And then on all three sides, besides the side that you walk up on, there's this drop-off, like this ravine that kind of goes at a slant down into this creek that surrounds it. So anyways, we're up there, and we go back into the woods a bit, and we're looking at these graves, and it's around the fall time, so there's, you know, leaves on the ground. And my one friend who's with me, again, he's you know, focused on, he's looking at these different graves, and he's stooped down and he's trying to read on the worn grave, you know, oh, this guy died 200 years ago, or, you know, 150 years ago, and he's looking and he's reading these things. And as he's reading, I could swear, I hear some, you know, up the side of that ravine, I hear some crunching of some footsteps. And at first I go, okay, it's an animal, you know, there's a squirrel, a deer back in there walking around. But it's kind of freaking me out, you know, because, it is midnight in the middle of the night in this place. And so I said, Aaron, I think I hear something, man. I'm pretty sure I hear something. Well, he didn't even respond. You know, he just kept looking at the grave. Oh, man, yeah, this guy died in 1805, and he's reading it. And I'm going, dude, seriously, I think I hear something coming up the side of the ravine. And again, he didn't pay any attention. He's probably just thinking, oh, he's just hearing things, you know, like my mind was playing tricks on me. Well, all of a sudden, whatever it was, just started, before it was just sneaking up, it started like in a dead-on sprint. You just heard coming straight for us, straight up the ravine. I remember it. I was standing up. He was stooped down by his grave. He looked up right into my face. We just stared at each other for a split second. And we didn't say a word. We both heard it. We just took off running to the car. We got in the car and just peeled out of there. We just peeled out of there, went home. It was only like a mile or so from my house. So we just peeled out of there, man. We were like so freaked out. Well, that's not the end of the story. But I'm actually here at Giant Eagle, so I'll tell you the rest of the story on my way home. I'm going to run in and grab some burgers for dinner. And then I'll tell you the end of the real freaky part of what happened. So, all right, so I got the groceries. So here's the rest of the story then. It was probably, this was probably 3 or 4 years later. I'm in college now, and told my roommate the whole story about me and Aaron in the graveyard. Well, what's the first thing anybody wants to do when you tell that story, unless they're real freaked out easily or something? First thing they want to do is, oh man, we got to go there, we got to check it out. Well, if you've ever been in a situation like this, it's like, you know that if you tell a story like that, and everybody goes, oh yeah, right, man, let's go check it out, let's see if it's really true. You go back and nothing happens, and you look like an idiot, because you know, you went back and then it's just like, it's just a regular graveyard. It's super quiet, nothing's going on. And you're like, well, no, man, there really was something going on. And they're like, yeah, right. Well, so anyways, I thought, okay, it's, you know, I was kind of freaked out last time, but it's been a couple years and, you know, nothing's going to happen again. And, so I was just like, okay, well, we'll do it. So my sister And my roommate and I, all on our way home for the weekend, back from college. My roommate was staying over at my parents' house with me. And so we're like, all right, we're going to stop by there. Again, this time it's probably about 1 in the morning. So we go there, and I'm walking him around. I'm showing him, okay, well, this is about the place where we were last time. You know, Aaron was squatting down right here looking at this grave, and we heard something coming up the ravine over here. And I'm telling him the whole story again and showing him where everything is. And we're probably there for about, 20 minutes or so. And it's just like, okay, nothing's going on. So we're just kind of standing there, just kind of looking around. And suddenly, we're kind of wrapping things up, going, all right, we're going to probably leave in a few minutes because obviously nothing's going on tonight. We don't hear anything weird or anything like that. So we're wrapping things up, about to think about leaving, and this noise comes out of the woods. And really, a lot of people who hear this story, they either don't believe it or they think it's cheesy or whatever. But I don't really have any way of describing this noise because it wasn't like any animal that I've ever heard, and it wasn't really like a human. But, you have to describe it in one of those terms because there's no other way. It was otherworldly. But if you had to describe it as an animal, it's kind of like a lion roaring combined with an elephant, trumpeting at the exact same time. And it started out in a low pitch, and then it got higher and higher and higher, and then it didn't go back down or get quieter. It just cut off, and it just echoed into the night. If I had to describe it as like a human sound, although it wasn't human, it would be like a woman screaming, but also like growling at the same time, like a woman just gurgling throat, just screaming as loud as possible, starting out real low and guttural sounding, and then getting super high pitched. And anyways, we hear this noise, and the second it starts, it's just so loud. I mean, this wasn't something something recording, some recording coming out of a speaker. I mean, this was super loud, and there's someone walking by. I think it's just really weird. There's a little girl walking a dog, and it was just really creepy for a second for me to be talking really loud, to myself, looking like that. Anyway, so it's super loud, and so as soon as it started that first time, we just. My roommate, Zach, he was in, he works out all the time. He's super quick. So I knew he could outrun us. So I said, Zach, we need to all stay together. We basically all linked arms. My sister was there too. So we all linked arms and we just said, we're staying together. We're running as fast as we can, but we're going to stay with each other. This was the scariest noise, the scariest thing that has ever happened to me. I'm not joking. You might be going, oh, this is cheesy. No, this was terrifying. So it cut off as we were running through. We're jumping over the graves just to get out of there as fast as possible. And, we get back to the car, and just as we're getting back to the car, it starts up again. It starts, I try to make it, but I can't even make the noise. But it starts out low, and it starts to go real high again. So we get in the car, man. We are freaked out. We get in the car, we start backing up, and as we're backing up, there's a car coming down the road the opposite way, and it's maybe they heard the sound too, I don't know, but they drove past us, and then they slammed on the brakes and started to back up slowly, and I'm guessing they heard what we heard too, but anyways, we were kind of freaked out, well, I don't know what's going on here, so we didn't wait to see what this other car was doing. We backed up, sped away. Again, it was a mile from my parents' house. We went to my parents' house, and to just get an idea, again, of how scary this was, it was probably an hour later, my hands were just, me and my roommate, we just looked down, our hands were still just shaking. Just from here, we didn't see a thing, anything like that, but just from hearing this noise, it was that scary of a thing. I'm telling you what, this was the scariest moment that I've ever had in my entire life. And I've been to some creepy places. I've explored an abandoned insane asylum. I've explored an abandoned mall. You could see that video if you look back, Rolling Acres Mall Adventure. But this was the scariest moment that has ever happened to me in my entire life. And all it was a noise. And later on, we looked online, tried to describe the noise on Google and did some searches. And again, people are going to go, oh, this is so cheesy. But no, this is really what came up. The sounds that people describe Bigfoot. They had some recordings online. If you look up some Bigfoot recordings, you'll hear some noises that sound what I'm trying to describe to you. But anyways, that's the story. Very freaky. I've gone there a couple times since and nothing's happened. But very, very scary thing. And I do think it wasn't a human. Some sort of creature that was very loud and really freaked me out. So that's the SHANAFELT story for tonight.